Reverend Dr. Niba, Mrs Florence, what an honor to be back again. Dear viewers, this is the last part, the conclusion of this scientific interview on Bishop Feudjio. So it was important to know the journey, the parcours of these highly distinguished Cameroonians, the very first English-speaking permanent diaconate in the United States of America, incarnated in the Archdiocese of Chicago. So we've listened to his parcours, his childhood. It was not an easy one, but God placed people to lead him and to get to the United States, and the formation very intensive, and he was ordained. Cardinal Tumi was here, and family members were there to support. And they were back to Cameroon. The Archbishop Cornelius received them, and it was breaking news that Cameroon had never seen that before. They spoke to us about the different dynamics, why it's taking time. But from your last statement, you said, the Archbishop Cornelius said, I like the last statement you made about Archbishop Cornelius. He said, what was the statement again?
He said, I have never received an application
exactly.
wanting to be a deacon.
So there viewers, now he's retired. We have a new Archbishop, Bishop Andrew Kea. So if you feel called to the permanent diaconate, why are you not sending an application? You might be the first in Ecclesiastical province. Who knows? So Dr. Niba, Reverend Dr. Niba, we are going to Bishop Feudjio. This man is the very first African native bishop in the United States of America. His appointment was made on the 2nd of March 2021 by Pope Francis, and he was consecrated on the 17th of April 2021 by Cardinal Wilton Gregory of the Archdiocese of Washington, and the co-consecrators were Cardinal Donald Wills, the Emeritus Archbishop of Washington, and Cardinal O'Malley, who ordained him a priest. So when did you first meet Bishop Jerome, if I may ask?
It was about June, July this year.
After the announcement?
After his consecration.
Oh, after the consecration,
yes.
Okay.
Prior to that, I had no clue that there was anybody from Cameroon, clergy with that name, or even there. When that announcement, when I got this thing from the Vatican briefings,
exactly.
And I looked at the name and I started thinking, who should this person be? And there was not that much known in the public who this person was.
Yes. So
I just kept calm to see what it was.
Okay.
The Catholic Women Association, some of their members, and she is also a member of the Catholic Women Association, they were trying to put together something to go and receive him or to participate in the consecration ceremony. And
St. Thomas?
Yeah, at St. Thomas.
Wow, serious.
So she was involved in conversations with people. That's when I started getting a little bit closer to knowing him. And then shortly after that, she would tell you a little bit more because she had more conversations with the bishop than I.
Okay.
And shortly after that, there was some conference or meeting with bishops in the Diocese of Joliet. That was around June, July time frame.
Okay.
And he indicated to her that she would be coming to that conference. So we drove out there.
I see. And
then met him. So that was the first time we met him.
In person?
Yes.
How was the impression? What struck you when you met him for the first time?
When we went to the hotel where the bishops were meeting, I did not know who I was. I didn't know what to expect or who I was going to see.
Okay.
And he had given his room number.
Okay.
So we came to the reception and then gave the number. The reception, they called up there. Nobody was picking it up.
Mm-hmm.
And we just stood there. And then after a while, we saw these bishops that started coming. So they were coming from some angle.
Okay.
And then she drew my attention and said, I think he must be somewhere in here because I see a lot of bishops coming
out.
And of course, when he walked out, I mean, it was just natural that we realized this is the person. And then he saw us, and then he's just smiling and coming. But he is very warm. He came and hugged us, embraced us. He was very warm, and we just started conversing as if we had known each other for a long time, till the point where I think we even forgot that we were standing in there. And he said, "But let's go to the room." But that was my first reaction. I think she.
Mrs Florence, what was yours? By the way, let's begin from the announcement and the consequences, since you were in the team preparing to go to St. Thomas.
Actually, I didn't go because I had an emergency.
Okay.
But my friends went.
I see.
And they gave a parcel on my behalf because my parcel didn't make it to them on time.
Okay.
So one of my sisters, Cecile Lanjo, Cecile.
Mm-hmm. What did she do?
Yes, she's in Washington. She's a nurse.
Okay.
So she went and presented a package from us, but we had bought some things and we intended to send it to the islands.
I see.
So I got his number when he got to Washington. I called one of the priests that we were close to from Father Kabongo.
Okay.
Jean-Marie Kabongo. So I called him and he gave me his contact.
Mm-hmm.
So I contacted him and I needed the address to mail out the product. So he said, "No, don't worry to mail it out. I will be in Chicago on so and so time for a conference."
Okay.
So in the meantime, we converse, we call him, he calls us.
Yes.
So when I met him, it was not new to me
Okay.
who I was meeting.
I see.
I mean, he's like Obama. The first time I met Obama, it was like I had known him for years.
Wow.
That's just the encounter. And I was just telling him he's not different from, you know, he has a charisma for Obama.
Okay.
And he was so warm. He had this fatherly figure.
Yes.
You could sense it. You see him, he's so humble. You could sense something very warm, something spiritual. You could see he's so clean. You know, so we sat there, you would think we had known each other
for years.
But that was the first encounter. Even though I've been talking to him over the phone and I've spoken to him as well.
Okay.
And the second time we met was in the Cardinal's house downtown.
I see.
So when he went there and spoke about us, we know a lot of bishops there, and one of the bishops who is a member, one of the members in our foundation.
Okay. Which foundation is that?
John Cockman Foundation. We have the John Cockman Foundation. He's one of the board members.
Okay.
So we used to actually hold the meeting in his house.
I see.
Yeah, Bishop Kane. That's him. By Cardinal Toomey.
Oh, no wonder.
Yes.
Was that Bishop?
Yes, he's retired.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So when he met him, he was like, "That is my family."
Oh my God.
So he said, "They know you very well. All the bishops, they know us very well." He said, "Yes," because Cardinal George was like our own father.
Father. Wow.
He was our own father. See,
oh my God.
So we frequent the Cardinal's house.
Okay, so
most of the times, especially when the bishops came here, or if there was some appointment made for him, or at parish level. So we saw him often, and even when he came to our parish.
Wow. So
through that, we're close to a lot of bishops. So they all explained to him that they're very versed with us.
Okay.
We used to cook and even go there and sit and eat.
Oh, wow.
Bishops. So that was very warm of him.
Okay.
We went there, we also saw other Reverend sisters, which the Chicago bishops had explained to us that there are some Cameroonian Reverend sisters working with us. Sister Blanche.
Okay.
So we're looking forward to seeing her.
Yes.
And finally met with her.
Wow.
During one of Bishop Feudjio's visit. It was last month.
Okay, so it was recent.
That was our second encounter.
So has he celebrated Thanksgiving Mass here or not yet?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Wow. That's interesting. So what wishes do we have for our new bishop? No, before the wishes. Bishop was telling me it seems I'm not only the Bishop of St. Thomas because now he's the spokesman for the Africans in the United States. So he has a lot of function now. So what wishes do you have for him, Reverend Dr. Niba? In this very, his office is now very, his duties are, he's not going to be, he has a lot to do. So
Well, I think we, the first wish is a prayer
Okay.
to remember him and I will invite everyone to remember him in every aspect of the prayer.
Okay.
Make his intentions, whatever they are, your everyday prayer intention.
Exactly.
I think those will go a long way.
Okay.
I would want, or I would wish that the Holy Spirit gives him the wisdom to be able to take all of these things, that the work that is in front of him, be able to discern, to know what is right and should be done, and at what moment, and by who. Because sometimes you can get a lot of things, and in the midst of excitement, you can lose focus and also priority, and can easily be distracted.
Okay.
So my wish is that the Spirit, the gift of wisdom, a gift of the Holy Spirit, which is a virtue, should be with him at all times. My other wish is for him to have a healthy life.
Okay.
But then I will also tell him to live a healthy life.
Yes.
It may be our wish, but that's work for him to be done.
Exactly.
So he needs to, as a bishop,
yes,
he cannot do everything, because God did not do everything in
exactly.
the world. God, who could do everything with one word, decided not to, in order to take a rest.
Yeah.
So we human beings cannot
try
to play God. You know? Rest is always very important.
Okay.
But my biggest wish is the gift, the wish
of wisdom. Thank you, Reverend Dr. All of Mrs. Florence?
For me, as a wife of a deacon,
yes,
we are the eyes and ears of the bishops,
exactly,
the priest. And so my wish is for him to continue to preach according to the minds of the church.
Okay.
For him to have been elected, God knows why. This is history for us.
It is history.
And so we as a community should give him that support.
Okay.
Part of the support will be spiritual, prayers for him every day. And if people have any advice they could give him, they shouldn't stay back.
No.
They should move forward and just give him, because God speaks to people through persons. And so we may just sit back and just assume that is a bishop and he knows everything, which is not true.
No.
So how are we going to support him? When you see something and something say go and tell, go and tell. If you see something that could help him say, my Lord, this is what I see. How about this? How can this be done? And of course, I'm happy that he is on this other planet.
Exactly.
He could look for other things to help other bishops in Africa in terms of healthcare, advice on how they can live and how they could rest. The bishop in Africa, they don't rest. They work non-stop.
They preach too.
But Christ worked for 6 days, and on the 7th day, he rested. So that principle should be followed.
Okay.
Yes, they need to rest, they need to look back, they need to remember their families, spend time with their families, which is what we see with other bishops here.
Exactly.
They have days to go and sit with their families. In Africa, the bishops work 7 days a week. They don't even get the opportunity to bond with their families.
That's true.
Because their lives are taken over by the parishioners.
Totally.
And they always see the need, they always want to help.
Okay.
But I think we're in a different era.
That's true.
And that life is revolving. We should strive to live long and healthy as much as we want to serve God.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for that.
So,
before the question on the wishes, I forgot to ask the question of why do you think this appointment is important? The appointment of the very first African native bishop of the United States. Important first of all for Africa, for Africans in the United States.
I think we need a representation.
Very good.
This is a true representation
of a continent.
And that through this, other African nations can benefit.
That's true.
you know, he has been in the Church of Cameroon, in the Church of Africa,
Yes.
and the Church of the United States. The policies may be the same, but the experiences are different.
Very different.
So appointing him gives us an opportunity for more learning,
That's true.
more opening, for education. The things that we don't have in Africa,
Yes.
we can learn from America. And the things that we don't have in America, we could learn from the Africans. So we could have some kind of exchange programs for priests, exchange programs for the religious, exchange programs for bishops, ideas. He being here,
Yes.
he could tell where there are openings. Bishops in Africa could bring in priests and so on and so forth. So he becomes
A bridge.
a bridge,
Pontiff.
some kind of liaison
Exactly.
where
Wow.
people could, you know, sail and see better futures.
Wow. For the good of both countries.
Exactly.
Wow.
And of course, enculturation.
Exactly. Wow. I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
Reverend Dr. Niba, do you have anything to add regarding the importance of this appointment to the church, to the Africans in this country and the Africans back home, and to the Americans themselves?
I think it makes visible
Yes.
the what the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops Office of Cultural Diversity was created for, because that office within it has a unit
Yes.
that caters for immigrants, the
Okay.
people who are coming in.
Okay.
And if you read the charter
Yes.
of that the document and you visit the people in the office,
Okay.
of course we do have people like Sister Okeke who are there,
Yeah.
who are working in there. But by bringing in a bishop of African origin or Cameroon origin into that office,
Yes.
I think it elevates and makes more real,
Exactly.
in concrete terms, the representation of that cultural diversity. It brings that element of diversity within the Catholic Conference of Bishops, United States Catholic Conference of Bishops, not just as an office level, but at the hierarchy of the church. Then people can begin to relate,
That's true.
to say, as Florence was saying, that there's a representation. So now you can say, yes, at this hierarchy, I've got that.
Exactly.
There are certain things within the Office of Cultural Diversity that can be discussed that touch on various areas and people. But sometimes they may never rise up into those committees where the bishops are sitting. But I think with him now sitting in those committees becomes a very natural way to elevate those voices that go down there.
Wow.
There is also a risk in this.
Really?
The risk here is that he can be mistaken to be some kind of a floating ambassador for all the Africans or all the Cameroonians that are in there. But before we do that, we have to first understand that he is the bishop of a diocese
in this country.
He's the bishop of a
diocese. Very important.
Because if we don't first recognize that, very soon we will start getting smears.
Okay.
There's a bishop, I called him, I'm from this place. Even though I introduced myself to him, he did not pay attention to it. I brought this problem to him, he doesn't know. He is first the bishop of a diocese. So that we have to bear in mind.
Okay.
But as a bishop of a diocese, when he sits at the table,
Yes.
there are things that he can discuss and put it in a language that brings an experience which other bishops may not have. But that's where we have the power and the energy.
Exactly.
So that distinction we have to be careful with it.
So impressive about that. Thank you so much for bringing that out. You know, people have to know that he's a bishop of a diocese, and that will help them to be able to understand. Thank you very much for that. You shared your wishes to him. I really wish him a wonderful ministry. And in concluding this scientific interview, I would like to thank you very, very profoundest gratitude for this time you've given. You've you've enlightened, you've enlightened so many people who were ignorant about permanent diaconate. You've given them the possibility that it's possible. You can become one if you believe in God Huh? You have to pray, and it's possible for you to. So I wanted to conclude this interview with your relationship. You've journeyed with so many prelates of the Ecclesiastical Province of Bamenda. Like you've spoken about Kanatumu already, experience with him. I would like us to go to Archbishop Paul Vetekov. Did you have any experience with him? He's now been, his introduction to beatification was introduced by his predecessor, Archbishop Cornelius Eswa.
You live down the cathedral beneath him, so you have a lot.
Yes.
Actually, I saw him often because I went to school in Big Mancon.
Okay.
One of the things I admired about him was his spiritual nature.
Okay, how was it?
He was a true shepherd. A true shepherd in the practical sense.
Okay.
He was a true example of a leader. It's often said that a lion
Yes.
led by a group of sheep led by a lion would always defeat a group of lions led by a sheep.
Okay.
He was that lion
Wow.
that ran sheep to shepherd,
Okay. Interesting.
and he had a memory.
I was told. He never forgot anything.
My last child is 14.
Yes.
When we visited him shortly before he passed away,
Yes.
he asked when they think that baby will be born.
Hmm.
And my first son said March 1st. He kept all the date.
Okay.
And after I had the baby, he wrote to me
Wow.
that Andrew was right.
Wow.
You know, we're talking about it, but we did not think that he had that in mind. I still have that letter.
Can you imagine?
All the letters is written to me, I have them.
Oh my God. Well,
So I look at those like a treasure.
Yes.
Even the pictures I took with him,
Okay.
it's a treasure for me.
Wow. Interesting.
And Father Gregory was saying that shortly before he died,
Yes.
he was talking about him. The last day he went, that is praying for his vocation.
Oh. Interesting.
And while we were in primary school, he will preach a doctrine
Yes.
that a small child will understand. He was someone who talked about obedience
Okay.
at all times. Obedience.
Obedience.
And he was so serious that we always thought he was frowning, but that was the nature of his face.
Oh.
Until my own kids were asking me, why is the bishop always frowning?
Yes.
Yes, they asked him, Grandpa,
Yes.
are you frowning? He laughed.
Interesting. So that's why they called him Grandpa.
Yes.
Okay.
They called him Grandpa, and they called the cardinal Grandpa as well.
Oh my God. So
They know everybody that is older is their grandpa.
so lovely. Interesting. Thank you for
So
that.
they were that privileged to come across him. They were all over his body.
Yes.
You know, he was just looking at them and was asking me about the journey.
Okay.
The only thing we missed of him is that he was not going out that much.
Exactly.
But I would just imagine there were not that many priests too at that time.
Okay.
So delegation of powers was also a problem.
Okay.
Unlike today where the other bishops have traveled worldwide,
That's true.
they have seen so many things. There are more priests,
Yeah.
more parishes, and there's distribution, more lay people.
Exactly.
So I think that the church is evolving.
Okay.
And when he retired, the life he lived was different from when he was a bishop,
Okay.
an active bishop.
So he had more time.
He had more time. He was so friendly. We always thought he wasn't that friendly, but that wasn't true.
Okay.
As we saw after his retirement,
I see.
he went out, received more people, welcomed a lot of people. He was living in Tasson where we visited him.
Okay.
And so that to me is to say that the bishops on seat now should have more rest, more interaction, to change the face of what people conceived.
Okay. Wow.
What we're conceiving wasn't true.
No, it wasn't.
It was just too much work on him.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I think I admired his leadership.
Okay.
I I really admired his leadership.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
What of Archbishop Cornelius Eswa? You met him for the first time as a teacher as a student in Mamfe. Tell me more. Do you have any personal relationship with him? Like with Monsignor Koffer?
Yeah, Bishop Eswa, when we met in Mamfe, he invited me to the youth club. Prior to that, before I got to Mamfe, there was an almanac which it had the priests from West Cameroon. And he was the baby priest who was just ordained at the time.
Okay.
So I saw this picture of this, all the other priests. I mean, they looked a little bit older, but this was this priest with a baby-like face and a cute smile. And then the name Cornelius.
Yes.
Yeah, you hear of names like James, Father James, Father John, Father Peter, MacDonald, and then you find his name, Cornelius, and then there's this Eswa. So we didn't know whether it was Esau or Esau in the Bible. So all of those pieces, they attract us.
Exactly, because that Esau in the Bible is not encouraged, right?
Yeah.
He was jealous of his brother.
Yeah. So but that baby-like face was what was attractive to me, and I said, I hope I can see this man someday.
Okay.
So I'm down in Mamfe, and I went to church. My first Sunday I went to church was a 9 o'clock mass.
Yes.
So as I'm sitting in the pew, the priest walks into the sanctuary, and I see this man. I say, it looks like that father that I saw.
Okay.
So the whole time he's saying, I'm busy trying to validate my image, my memory. And I said, I think he has to be the one.
Okay.
But there's no way of finding out. So as soon as mass was over, I immediately went into the path between the rectory and the sacristy.
Okay, waited.
And I stood there. So when he walked out and he was coming, I said, "Good morning, Father."
Okay.
He said, "Yes." Before he could ask, I said, "Are you Father Cornelius?" Eswa.
What did he say?
He looked at me and then touched my head and said, "Yes, I am." I said, "Well, where are you? Who are you?" I told him my name and I said, he said, "So where are you from?" I said, "From Bafut and I'm in grammar school Mamfe." He said, "Grammar school Mamfe." Then he smiled again and looked at me and then tapped my head again and said, "Come and join the youth club." And then he quickly passed.
Oh my God.
But I went that day, I said, at least I met the person I've been trying to see.
Wow.
So I had to find out now where the youth club was.
Okay.
And the youth club used to meet on Thursdays. No, Wednesday afternoons at 4 o'clock.
Wow.
So I went there. And of course, when I went, there were other big boys. Then there were big boys from school who were there. And then he came in and he had set up a table tennis board in the hall. And he was teaching some of those boys, the bigger boys, the Bincho Blashes, how they were playing.
The young man.
Yeah, but we're so small, so we were just picking the balls as they were flying over. And then he would teach music.
Oh, wow.
And that's how, so one of the activities of the youth club was choral music.
Okay.
So that's how the Catholic youth choir started.
I see.
That choir now used to sing at the 9 o'clock mass.
I see.
Later on, it will evolve into, so that was that encounter with him. Within that 1 year, 73, he went to Rome.
Yes,
for studies.
For specialization.
Yes, and then the youth choir now evolved into the Mamfe Youth Choir, which was still singing in church.
Wow.
And we lost track then.
Okay.
And then I did not meet him again until I think 1980.
Okay.
He had just come back from Rome and he was teaching scripture in
Bangui.
I met him very briefly.
Okay.
I had come up from Bekuniam.